The movie opens at a Japanese high school, where student Shibuya Mo rushes toward the playground, eager to meet her crush, Shoes Yagam Musha, a transfer student who joined just a week ago. Shoes is strikingly handsome and already has a large female following. Moments later, Mo reaches the playground and calls out his name, boldly confessing her feelings in front of a crowd of students. However, Shoes dismisses her, saying he doesn't see her that way, leaving Mo embarrassed and humiliated in front of everyone. Mo's best friend, Nishimori Suzu, is furious at this public humiliation. She intercepts Shoes as he heads to class, scolding him for his rude behavior and explaining that Mo is a sensitive girl who worked up the courage for weeks just to confess. Suzu points out that he has turned her friend into the school's laughingstock. But Shoes, full of arrogance, shows no remorse and ignores her complaints. Shoes then suddenly leans in close to Suzu, asking if she too has a crush on him or wants something more intimate. Enraged, Suzu instinctively kicks him. Her anger fades when she sees Shoes screaming and tumbling down the stairs from the impact. After the chaos, Suzu is left carrying Shoes home once school ends. She struggles to lug him across streets and upstairs while he casually gives her directions, clearly exaggerating his injuries to get a free piggyback ride. Eventually, they arrive at the house where Shoes lives, and Suzu realizes it's the same building where she rents a room. Curious, Suzu asks how long he has been living there, revealing that she also lives in the building. Shoes explains he moved in just a few days ago, and it turns out they are next-door neighbors who somehow never met before. Shoes takes full advantage of his supposed injuries and Suzu's kindness, making her clean his room while he scrolls on social media. He even manipulates her into cooking dinner, forcing her to fetch all the ingredients from her own room because he is out of groceries. As Suzu works in the kitchen, Shoes casually changes into home clothes, at one point approaching her completely shirtless without her noticing. The poor girl is unaccustomed to such casual behavior since she lives entirely alone. When she turns and sees him bare-chested, she recoils in shock. Suzu is so flustered that she accidentally pours large amounts of oil into the pan instead of water. The pan catches fire, immediately setting off the room's fire alarm. Moments later, a drenched and visibly anxious Suzu and a shirtless Shoes are soaked by the sprinklers, leaving the food completely ruined. After some time, the landlord arrives to assess possible water damage. She inspects the lights and flooring and concludes that nothing is severely harmed, though she notes that the room's electronics will take at least a week to repair. The landlord informs Shoes that only one other unit is available in the building for temporary use. Shoes responds that he will stay with his friend until the repairs are complete, his friend being none other than Suzu. She is left speechless, staring at Shoes, who feigns injury and reluctantly agrees to the arrangement. Having the new student at her place proves to be a torment for Suzu, as he is far too casual and shows no respect for boundaries. She carries all his belongings to her room while he strolls around near her laundry. Suzu casually announces he will take a bath and teasingly mocks her polka-dot underwear, making the situation even more awkward. Shoes emerges from the bathroom in just his underwear. Suzu, who has already prepared dinner, recoils in panic and pleads for him to dress, which he eventually does. They sit down to eat, much to Shoes' delight. While dining, he curiously asks why she lives alone. Suzu explains that her family moved to Tokyo for her father's new job, but she stayed behind to avoid changing schools mid-term, and because she didn't want to leave Mo, her childhood friend. The scene shifts to the next day at school, where Suzu looks utterly drained from the previous day's events. She even sighs loudly during history class, prompting the teacher to ask if she is all right. The question snaps her back to reality, and she apologizes. Yet, while gazing blankly out the classroom window, she notices Shoes playing football with his friends. Only a day ago he had been limping from pain, but now he appears completely fine. Now Suzu realizes she has been tricked all along and Shoes isn't injured at all. A flashback to last night shows Shoes dragging Suzu's mattress to the floor and sleeping on it himself, forcing her to adjust to the floor. The next morning, she woke up to find his arm casually resting on her. Later, Suzu quickly packed bland rice and cucumber for lunch as she rushed to school, while Shoes continued snoring on her mattress. Back in the present, she comes to terms with having been manipulated into serving Shoes. At lunchtime, Suzu tries to explain her tricky situation to Mo, but Mo still seems completely smitten with Shoes despite the harsh rejection. Just then, a classmate runs in with hot news. A student was expelled for living with her boyfriend, revealing that their school strictly punishes romantic relationships. This convinces Suzu to keep her own situation a secret. Later, the girls spot Shoes in the school corridor. Many encourage Mo to approach him again, but before she can act, Shoes calls out to Suzu, holding the keys to her room. She immediately dashes toward him to prevent anyone from knowing they live together. It's clear he's teasing her, but she quickly snatches the keys and tells him not to acknowledge her publicly. The incident sparks suspicion among the girl gang. Mo and two other students confront Suzu, asking if there's anything between her and Shoes. Suzu quickly denies it, claiming she dropped her key on the street and he simply returned it. This fabricated story only increases Shoes' popularity among the girls. At home, Suzu tries to regain control by setting clear personal boundaries. She sticks notes on the walls, fridge, and bathroom door, reminding him not to walk around naked, not to consume a month's supply of food in a single day, and to knock before entering the bathroom. In the back of her mind, she worries about Mo discovering the truth. Suzu doesn't want to hurt her best friend by staying with the guy Mo likes, so she sets up a temporary curtain wall to create distance while they sleep. While arranging this, Shoes returns home with his friend Satrasu. Suzu panics and quickly hides under the blanket, terrified that anyone discovering she shares a room with a guy could spread rumors, possibly leading to both her and Shoes being expelled. On the other hand, the latter doesn't seem to care at all. He notices Suzu's foot sticking out and knows she's hiding under the blanket. He deliberately sits on top of her, ignoring her signals to get off. Fortunately, Rasu steps out onto the balcony after learning that a girl lives next door. This gives Suzu the chance to push Shoes off and confront him. Irritated, she punches him in the abdomen, but before she can say anything, Rasu returns and is stunned to see a girl there. Thinking the room belongs to his friend, he becomes extremely excited at the idea of a girl living next door. Suzu, however, doesn't want to entertain any silly boys and excuses herself to leave. Suzu soon regrets leaving as it's pouring outside. Without an umbrella, she is forced to seek shelter at a local corner store. She notices a sale and eagerly goes inside to check it out. There she meets Wataru Sanju, the store's owner, who warmly welcomes her. It's clear they've been friends for a long time. Knowing she loves olives, Sanju promises to give her a pickle recipe she'll enjoy. He also notices she's caught a cold and lends her his jacket. Meanwhile, the store's salesgirls gossip about the duo, speculating whether they are in a relationship. It's obvious that Sanju likes her, but sadly, the feelings are one-sided. Shortly after, Suzu returns to her building and cautiously enters her room. She's relieved to find Shoes alone and warns him not to bring friends over again. He notices her shivering and pulls her closer, placing his hand on her forehead and realizing she has a cold. Shoes also spots the men's jacket she's wearing and asks where she got it. When she explains that the corner store owner lent it to her, Shoes is surprised. He knows she doesn't have a boyfriend and Suzu can't argue since it's true. Just then, a knock interrupts their conversation. She pushes Shoes aside and opens the door to find Sanju waiting. The store owner kindly hands her the recipe he promised earlier. Knowing she lives next door to a boy, he also warns her to be careful while he's gone. Shoes teases her for trying to act cute in front of the store owner. Suzu attempts to explain, but is silenced when Shoes places a medicine patch on her forehead. The following morning, Mo drops by Suzu's apartment on her way to school. Unfortunately, she sees Shoes and her best friend on the balcony. Though her friend lies that Shoes is just her next-door neighbor, it's clear to Mo that she is heartbroken. Later that afternoon, the landlord hosts a welcome party for Shoes. Attending are Sanju, Mo, Rasu, Shoes' elder brother, and his ex-girlfriend Satsuki. There's a spiteful atmosphere surrounding Satsuki, and Suzu can sense it aimed at the ex-girlfriend. Everyone at the party notices that something is brewing between Shoes and Suzu. Later, Satsuki reminds Shoes of a promise he made to her years ago before they part ways. She bluntly tells Suzu that even if she likes Shoes, she'll never stand a chance with him. Sanju and Shoes have a one-on-one conversation in which the store owner advises the hotshot high schooler not to toy with Suzu's feelings. Shoes dismisses the warning, deriding its obviousness. That night, things start to get complicated for Suzu as she lies awake thinking about Shoes and Satsuki. She can no longer deny it and realizes she's beginning to fall for Shoes. Her thoughts are suddenly interrupted by a deafening clap of thunder, which scares her out of her wits. Shoes notices and offers his hand for comfort. A few days later, the landlady gives Suzu 2 tickets to a local fun park since she can't go herself. Suzu thanks her and initially considers going with Mo, but Shoes grabs one of the tickets and tells her to wait for him after school. That evening, the duo visit the park and have an absolute blast. Shoes even holds Suzu's hand and jokingly says he might end up falling for her. Later, they take a break from the arcade games and dizzying roller coasters by sitting down in a restaurant. Suddenly, Suzu notices a poster for the annual firework festival and excitedly expresses her wish to attend it this year. Urban legends say that couples who kiss during the 7th heart-shaped firework will be blessed. Shoes laughs at her for believing such childish notions, but Suzu is dead serious. In return, he teases her, saying he'll go with her since he's sure she won't find anyone else. Though made in jest, the comment leaves Suzu deep in thought as she sits at the restaurant table while Shoes walks home. She suddenly snaps back to reality and tries to follow him, but he walks too fast for her to catch up, leaving her behind. Just then, 2 girls from their school start trailing her. They had earlier seen Shoes at the park with a girl and are determined to find out who she is. Suzu panics and starts running before they can reach her. Just as she hurries past a corner, Shoes pulls her into an alleyway. There is unresolved romantic tension between them, and they stare at each other in awe. Suzu closes her eyes, expecting a kiss, and he leans in, but stops at the last second, instead telling her to be careful next time. The following day, Suzu finally confesses to Mo that she's living with Shoes and is in love with him. Mo, ironically, isn't angry. She expresses happiness instead. Suzu also reveals her own secret. Mo has been seeing Rasu for the past few days. That evening, Satsuki makes a surprise visit to Shoes' apartment. She sees him entering the building with Suzu and is clearly upset. She also learns that they live together and urges Shoes to leave, but he refuses, insisting that Suzu is just a roommate. Shoes goes inside, leaving Suzu to face the spiteful ex-girlfriend. Satsuki tells Suzu that, despite their separation, Shoes could never forget his promise to her. Curious about their past, Suzu visits Shoes' elder brother, Soju, to ask him about it. Soju, with a cheeky personality, demands a kiss in exchange for the information. Desperate to learn Shoes' past, Suzu reluctantly allows him to kiss her. Though disgusted, she finally discovers the truth. Shoes and Satsuki grew up in the same neighborhood. Shoes had a dysfunctional family, and during his lowest moments, Satsuki was always there for him. They eventually became a couple, but the relationship ended because of Satsuki's selfish attitude. Years later, she tried to reconcile by calling Shoes multiple times. When he ignored her, she waited outside his home for hours in the cold and nearly collapsed. Distraught, Shoes blamed himself and vowed to support her until she found her own happiness. Following this revelation, Suzu realizes that Shoes doesn't love her. She goes to a nearby park and cries her feelings out. Shortly after, Shoes visits Soju at work, and the elder brother offers him some money. Soju also reveals that Suzu had visited earlier and that he told her everything about Shoes' past. He doesn't stop there, teasingly describing how she reacted when he kissed her. Suzu becomes furious and punches Soju in the face. Shoes then finds her crying in the park and teasingly scolds her for not taking care of herself, despite having been told. He takes a picture of her crying and jokingly tells her she looks ugly when she cries. To her utter surprise, he gently kisses her tears away. Then, in an attempt to make her laugh, he pushes her down a hill. Suzu comically rolls down, and they both end up laughing together. As days pass, life returns to normal, and both become fully aware of the unspoken connection between them. Even though Shoes hasn't openly expressed his feelings, Suzu is content just to have him nearby. A few weeks later, Shoes' birthday arrives, and preparations are underway. Suzu spends her time cooking and baking, knowing how much he loves her food. Meanwhile, the birthday boy is busy running errands for Satsuki. The spiteful ex-girlfriend steals Shoes' phone when he isn't looking and texts Suzu pretending to be him, fabricating lies that he won't be coming home because he'll be making out that night. Despite this, Suzu waits faithfully at their apartment, and thankfully, Shoes returns and happily eats the food she prepared. Suzu watches him eat, overwhelmed with emotion, and sheds tears. Shoes innocently asks what's wrong. Suzu replies that she just wants to be happy but doesn't elaborate. Angered, Shoes rudely shoves her down and attempts to force a kiss, mocking her by asking if this is what she meant by wanting to be happy. Stunned, Suzu looks at him with disbelief and disappointment as he hastily leaves. Unwilling to give up, she runs after him, drenched from the rain, and confesses her love, but he remains unmoved. He tells her he can't continue like this, admitting he doesn't really know how to love and can't fulfill his promise to take her to the festival. Finally, Suzu concedes that her love may never be returned. She realizes that Shoes still has unresolved feelings for Satsuki, creating an unspoken distance between them. This distance grows when Shoes' room is repaired. Outside her door, Suzu finds her key along with a beautiful necklace, his final gift. She can only cry for her unfulfilled love. Meanwhile, Shoes immerses himself in work. One evening, Soju unexpectedly visits and expresses his frustration over Satsuki's constant calls. She wants Shoes to help her win him back, but Soju believes it's a bad idea, convinced that Satsuki only sees his younger brother as a plaything. Soju urges Shoes to forget his promise to Satsuki and move on with his life. After all, he can never truly fulfill his promise if he doesn't love her, and the maddening part is that he's only using the situation to hide from his own feelings. Simply put, Shoes needs to man up and confess his love. A few days pass, and the day of the fireworks festival arrives. Mo, who is headed to the celebrations with Rasu, coerces her best friend to partner up with Sanju. But Rasu, being close friends with Shoes, doesn't like what's happening. He heads to Shoes' apartment right before the festival begins, confronting his old friend for always running from love and urging him to take responsibility for once. Mo, also present, adds that Suzu is currently enjoying the festivities with Sanju, and everyone knows what happens during the last heart-shaped firework. Couples kiss for divine blessing. Realizing his faults, Shoes becomes worked up, knowing he can't possibly reach her in time. Rasu offers him his bike. Soon after, Rasu realizes that without his bike, he and Mo won't make it to the festival themselves, but they are willing to make the sacrifice. Meanwhile, Sanju and Suzu are alone in a huge observation wheel at the festival. The fireworks have started, and several couples kiss, believing it brings good fortune. Sanju confesses his feelings to Suzu and leans in for a kiss, but she, deeply in love with Shoes, refuses and leaves the observation wheel on her own. Moments later, Shoes finds Suzu alone and crying near the edge of the festival grounds. He apologizes for the pain he caused her and admits he didn't understand what falling in love was. He explains that he had been too afraid to face his own feelings, but now realizes he is in love with her. She, in turn, can't stop crying in front of him. She had suffered deeply but chose to face her emotions, and despite the pain, she wants to be with him. After weeks of turmoil, the two finally confess their love for each other. Shoes jokingly takes a picture of her crying and tells her she looks ugly when she cries. Just then, the last heart-shaped firework explodes in the sky, and he tenderly kisses her tears away.